Okay, so before we go any further, let me just give you a very brief description of the car. It's a saloon, sedan, whatever you want to call it, car. It's obviously got 4 seats. It's got a 2-litre petrol engine, which is further enhanced by electric motors on the rear wheels. The total brake horsepower of this vehicle is phenomenal. It's over 400 brake horsepower with the combined electric power as well, and it is insanely quick. I'm not going to go into all the specifications of it because you can find all that on many other YouTube videos, and also the Volvo website will give you the full specification of the car. But it is very quick. It's probably 0 to 60 in around about 5 seconds or thereabout, which is quite good for quite a big car. It is. It's quite a long car, and it's quite heavy as well with all these batteries inside. So it's quite an impressive performance. It also, of course, because it's got the electric capability, it has lots and lots of environmental advantages, and also it's much better in cities and towns in terms of it's very quiet and no pollution from it. So far, on electric mode only, that's what they call the pure mode, I've managed to do 30 miles down in Pembrokeshire, down in Wales, along the country lanes. I wasn't sort of speeding, I wasn't going fast at all, probably maximum speed of about 40 miles an hour, I'd say. But down in Wales I managed to get 30 miles out of a complete charge, which is quite good. It was more than I thought I would get. Obviously, since I've had this car, because it's new, I'm plugging it in all the time. When I go back home today, I'll plug it back in. So I keep plugging it in all the time, so keeping the charge fully charged so that I can use it locally in my neighbourhood on pure electric, so that I don't cause any pollution to my neighbourhood or to the people who live there. You know, I think it's a great thing that if we all had hybrid cars, forget pure electric cars, I think if we just had hybrid cars, that would make a big difference, I think, to the towns and cities where we all live in terms of air quality, etc. Yeah, so the reason I bought it, to be fair, was I wanted the capability of using electric locally where I live. I can pick my grandchildren up from school, I can go shopping without using any petrol at all. So that is a big plus. That is probably one of the top reasons why I bought it. I think the second most important, well, probably the most important reason, to be fair, is safety. The Volvo car is probably one of the safest cars on the road. I know that Volvo have this aspiration that no one will die in their cars. And as far as I'm aware, they are starting to realise this aspiration now with the new range of models like the XC90, the XC60, this S60. These cars are now in a position where I believe, I'm not absolutely certain, but I believe that no one has died in these cars. I don't think so anyway. If they have, it's very small number. They are super safe. There's everything you can possibly think of in this car to protect you and to protect people who might come into contact with the car as well. So safety is probably the number one, I would say. Let's say that's number one. Number two is the hybrid option, the fact that you are being able to drive around locally in pure electric mode, so you're cutting down on pollution, airborne particles, etc. So there's nothing coming out of the rear end of this car. The third thing is that I am a Volvo guy anyway. I've had 4 or 5 Volvos over the past 10 or 15 years. I love the car, I love the brand, I love the safety, I love the finish, the way that they're manufactured, the quality inside and out is pretty good. So I am, unfortunately, I am attached to Volvo as a brand. I can't see myself breaking away from it, not in the near future anyway. So that's a little bit about me and a bit the reasons why I bought the car. I'm now going to tell you what I think of the best points of the car are, and also at the end I will give you some things that you may want to consider and look at, which are, in my view, weaknesses of the design. Okay, so I've had the car for 2 weeks, got to know it pretty well. Let me tell you about the way it drives. That's what everybody's going to want to know. I think the ride is on the firm side. You do feel a few little bumps and things which are a little bit firmer than, say, if you had the inscription model, which is a little bit more comfy. I don't find it a problem. I mean, I'm in my retirement years and not as I like comfort, and I think this is very, very comfortable despite being a little bit on the firm side. I still think it's great. Very, very comfortable. I don't get any problems at all. The seats are fantastic. They wrap around you nicely when you're going cornering. You don't roll all over the place. You feel as though you're in a safe, secure place, which is what I like about the car. I've taken passengers in the vehicle too. There's plenty of room in the back of the car for leg room, at least for 2 passengers. Okay, if you have the 3rd passenger in the back, in the middle, then it would be better probably to be a child, and they can straddle the tunnel, which is presumably to battery in there. I don't know, part of the battery system. Other than that, there's room in the boot for as many things as I want to take with me. I go down to Wales quite a lot fishing, and from the Midlands in the UK, and I take fishing rods and my overnight bags and things to go in my caravan, things for the caravan. What I can't get in the boot, I put in the back on the back seat. It's not an issue. So there's plenty of room, I think, in the car, generally speaking. Okay, it's a compromise. It's not an estate car. The car that I had before this was the V90, which had loads and loads of room. You could stack that car up to the very top at the back with gear if you wanted to. But I don't have that need anymore. My caravan is pretty much located, it's seasonal pitch down in Wales now, so I can just go down there with minimal things, really, food, clothes, and that's it. The things that I like about the car are, I've always been fond of the you know, the sort of performance of Volvo cars. A lot of people say that they're, you know, old-fashioned, slow. They're not at all, far from it. Those people have never driven the new range of models that are available. The V90 that I had was a diesel, but that was very, very quick and very fast, and it held the road quite well as well for a big estate car. This holds the road better than any other Volvo I've ever had. It is absolutely superb to go when you're going fairly quickly around corners, sweeping bends. It holds the road very, very well. When you put your foot down in this car, especially if you're in the power mode, so you have got different modes. You've got hybrid, you've got pure, which is purely electric, and then you've got the hybrid, the pure, you've got and the power mode, which is and you've got an individual mode as well, which you can then select your steering, how you like your steering, whether it's stiff or light, and which mode you want to be in when you're in individual mode as well, like if you want to be in the power mode or the hybrid mode. So you can select all those as you want. But in the power mode, the car is very, very fast. And when you put your foot down, if you have the opportunity to do safely and within the law, of course, then you do have to hold on to the steering wheel, because it will, if you straddle the white line, you will feel it kick over the white line. So you have to be careful. You can't just sit back with 2 fingers on the steering wheel and floor it. That is not a safe thing to do at all. You need to hold on to the steering wheel, you need to drive the car. But in normal driving, of course, you don't have to do that. If you want to hold the steering lightly, with two hands, which you should be doing anyway, then it's very, very safe to do that, even at speeds. I like the pilot assist. I had to pay extra to have that on this model, which I think is a little bit of not too happy about that really. I think it's called IntelliSafe Pro, which I paid extra for, which has got some safety features on there which aren't on the basic model, but it's also got the pilot assist too, and the adaptive cruise control I think is in that package too, I'm not sure. So I like the adaptive cruise control and the pilot assist. I find on the motorway it works very well. Don't bother with pilot assist anywhere other than dual carriageways or motorways that are well lined with white lines along the edge and lines in the middle, because it doesn't work. It's not safe to use in those sort of stuff. Not without having to, you know, sort of hang on to the steering wheel to correct anything that it doesn't understand. So, but on the motorway it's pretty good. I think it's pretty safe, fairly safe, not everywhere. You have to be aware of the fact that when you're coming to roadworks, chicanes that have been put in by contractors to move people away, you have to be aware of the fact that the pilot assist is not going to know what to do there. So you have to hang on to it. But generally speaking, on normal cruising on the motorway, pilot assist works really well, as long as you are aware of the fact that you're holding the steering wheel, or you touch the steering wheel every 20 seconds, whatever the time is. So that works really, really well. I like that feature. The stereo, the hi-fi system in this car compared to the Volvo V90 that I had previously is far superior. Sound is a lot better. It's probably not as good as the Bowers and Wilkins system that you can pay extra for, but it's pretty good. I'm a hi-fi buff anyway, although I don't listen to music much in a car. To be honest, it's a bit weird. I love music at home in my hi-fi system, but I don't normally bother listening to it in the car. But I am starting to listen to music a little bit in here now, because the system is quite good. It's it's a nice tight bass. The dynamics of the sound is quite good for a car. A car is not a great place for hi-fi anyway. But anyway, it's pretty good. What else do I like? I like the look of the car. That's obvious. It is the most beautiful car in its class. I don't think there's a better looking car than this. When I was looking at cars to replace the V90, obviously I looked at this, but I had to look at the BMW 330 as well, because it's pretty much very, very similar to this. And it's a nice car, don't get me wrong. The BMW is a great, nice car. My son's got one. He loves his. And it is very well finished. But because I'm sort of hooked on this Volvo thing, it sort of got into my blood. I felt that I had to have this one. And I think this is equally as good as the BMW. I do honestly believe that. People will tell you it doesn't handle quite as good. Well, okay, we're not all going to go chasing around the country driving like Lewis Hamilton, are we? I mean, I don't think I just pootle along all the time, because I don't. I like to drive a car properly. Always have done. And I find no problem in driving this properly either. It's quite easy to drive, and I feel safe driving it too, even at speeds. So yeah, it's a good car to drive, and it's probably underrated in many respects because of the Volvo brand. Young people tend to think that it's old-fashioned, you know, old man's car. It's not. Don't be fooled by that at all. Far from it. Other things that I like, another thing that I'm really impressed with is the shift lever to select, the selector lever if you want to call it that, where you select neutral, drive, reverse, etc. That is so sweet. It is so precise and so easy to move and back and forth. Just a tiny little tap is all you need to do, and it moves back and forth into the various gears that you may want to select. That is really, really cute. I think that's fantastic. The automatic transmission is amazing. Automatic transmission, you will not know what gear you're in. You wouldn't have a clue. And you don't even hear it change gear. You don't feel it change gear. It is so super smooth. I'm really impressed with the automatic transmission. The sound, the noise in the car, the sound that you pick up from the road and from the engine, is pretty minimal. To be honest with you, half the time I don't know whether I'm in electric or petrol. Wouldn't have a clue. Unless you look at the dial and it tells you. I wouldn't know by the noise. It's quite an impressive car. There's no question about it. The engine is very sophisticated, I think, and it really does. It's so quiet in the cabin. You don't know what gear you're in. There are paddles on the steering wheel that you can use to change gear. I personally I've never been fond of those. I don't use them. I know a friend of mine uses his all the time. I find that I can't change gear quicker than the automatic transmission. There's no chance. So I don't need them. It's an extra which is not really required. For me anyway. But everybody's different. It's quite low down. My wife, when she first went out in it, she felt sick. So that's good. That means she won't be coming out very often. Joke. Yeah, no, she's okay now. She's been out in it since and she's fine. I think she was just a little bit that way inclined at that time anyway. But no, she likes it too. I regret not having the sunroof. I think the sunroof would have been nice, but that's an extra cost which really I couldn't afford. This car, the way it is now, cost me £45,000. That is a lot of money for anybody to spend on a car. So, I didn't do it lightly though. I knew exactly what I was letting myself in for. I knew what the capabilities of the vehicle were. I'd test driven it, so I knew what it was like. But now that I've had it 2 weeks, I can perhaps be a little bit more have more authority about what the car is like to drive, what its downfalls are, and its attributes, definitely. So I think I've said enough about the actual positive sides of the car now. I think I'm going to go into the negatives, if you like. There aren't many, and to many people they won't be very important. One of the things that I detest is the boot lining. The lining in the boot is really cheap. I don't know what it is. You couldn't call it carpet. It's like felt underlay or something. I don't know what it is. It's got no pile to it at all. But what it does do, it sticks any sort of twigs, tiny little bits of twig or leaves get stuck in this stuff, and you can't hoover them out. It's impossible. And after a while, it'll look a mess. Why they skimped and didn't put proper carpet in like they do in the V90. The V90 had lovely black carpet in the back of the car that you could hoover ever so easily, get all of the bits and stuff off. This is just, I don't like that at all. Horrible stuff. Okay, so that's the boot. The boot lid itself is a bit light. It's not too bad, but it's a little bit light. One thing that they have sorted out at last is this. They've sorted out the way of opening the boot with your foot. It works every time. It's amazing. The V90 that I had, it hardly ever worked. I used to look an absolute idiot stood behind that car, waving my foot around, trying to get it to work, and it wouldn't. This works every time. It's very, very good. So I'm really pleased about that. That's a plus. Okay, now I'm inside the car. Some of the things I like about the inside of the car is I like the black finish on the center console here. There's a nice little slot there that you can rest your phone in. It fits in really well, stops it sliding around all over the place. The screen is fantastic, I think. I think it's just about the right size. I don't like really huge screens that you get on Teslas and things like that. So this is just a nice size. The glove compartment is more than adequate. Plenty of room in there to get sandwiches and stuff that you might want to be carrying on your trip. The steering wheel adjusts really well, up and down and forward and back. I've got it on pretty much the lowest level you can put it on, but that's because I like to sit low down in the car and with the back leaning back quite a bit. Yeah, so seats are super comfortable, half leather, half fabric. That's a new one for me because I've always had leather seats, but I quite like it. I think it's nice, it's good. Yeah, all in all, the dashboard and the materials that have been used inside the cabin are of the highest quality. I have no complaints about any of that at all. Very nice detail in the car, nicely finished, nice material, nice products, nice quality materials have been used. In the back, as you can see, again nicely finished, plenty of comfort features. The glove compartment is quite reasonable, quite a decent size. Plenty of room for a cloth and a few books and things and whatever you may want to carry with you. The air conditioning system works very well. Okay, so I like the car, it's great, but there are some negatives. I've already told you about this horrible cheap lining in the boot, which I don't like. The paintwork on the car is pretty good, I would say. However, on the front of the car there are some areas which are faulty on this particular, on my car. I'm not saying it'll be on every car. There are one or two little tiny specks and things which shouldn't be there underneath the paintwork actually, which is really weird. And also some areas of glue on the black grille, which again shouldn't be there, and I'll be getting my Volvo dealer to sort that out in due course. I had mud flaps put on the car when I ordered it. I ordered mud flaps and they've attached those. I don't know how long the mud flaps are going to stay on the back of the car, because the panel of plastic is very flimsy, I think, but hopefully they'll stay. I'm trying to think what else that I don't like about it. There's not much really, to be fair. It's a pretty lovely car. Yeah, so there you go. I think that's probably all. Those are the only. Oh, there is one other thing. Before I go, there is one other thing. The modem in the car doesn't work and has been back to the dealership, and they couldn't solve the problem. So they're going to have this car now for 2 days in the next couple of weeks. So I'm going to be without the car for 2 days while they sort that out, because the modem definitely does not work. And whilst I've never had a modem in a car before, maybe I'm not bothered about it, but as I've paid 45 grand for the car, I thought I might as well have it fixed and get it so that it does work. And I know a lot of young people do need to use modems for their Wi-Fi, etc, etc. Other than that, no complaints really. There is another thing, I suppose, to be fair. Yeah, one other thing is that the back of seats in this car do not fold down. Why on earth Volvo did not put it as a standard feature to be able to fold the back seats down, I do not know. All I can think is that they are penny pinching where they shouldn't be penny pinching, really. It's a bit like the carpet stuff or this stuff in here. You had to pay extra to have folding seats, and it was quite a substantial amount of money, so I didn't go for that. And it's not a big issue for me, but it would be for some people, I know. So just bear that in mind, that if you want the back seats to fold down, you've got to pay extra to have that feature. So that's an all. So out of 10, what am I going to give the car? I can't really avoid giving it 9, to be fair, because I think it is a tremendously good car. Despite its few little faults, it's a fantastic car. So 9 out of 10 for the Volvo S60 T8 R-Design 2020. Great car. Buy one.